So today I have a special guest named Matthew, and he's a professional in the blockchain world, and we're going to be talking about decentralized and permissionless secure blockchain, enabling micro validation, tokenization, and the whole work. So I'm very excited about him and what he's doing in the blockchain world. And why don't you give us a little background about you and how you got started in blockchain?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, Crypto Kid. I got started back in about 2017, and I think I made the mistake that everyone makes. I invested my money and then I invested my time. So, and I learned that is the wrong order in terms of getting involved in crypto. But it was really exciting once I started to invest my time, and I started to realize. Not so much. I definitely learned more about crypto, but I started to learn more about the broader use cases of blockchain and the real impact that blockchain can have on many spaces for the betterment of people around the world. But before that, I was in business management for many years, running various different teams. And then I went from, and I was very successful in that, and I ended up starting my own company where I was training leadership, business management, and sales, and all the way from managers to C-suite. And then COVID hit, and predominantly the majority of our clients were in travel. And so, I think that was probably one of the biggest hit industries once COVID came out and really took hold. And so I had to really pivot. And I'd already started with my interest around crypto. And so I started diving more into working with projects on various different areas, whether that be through tokenomics, strategy, community building, just people management, and really started to kind of sink my teeth, especially in the DeFi space. And then and wanted it more and more, and made some great connections. I think if you've got the right attitude and you're really wanting to do something positive in the space, and you're willing to work and collaborate with people, you can make some amazing friendships and some amazing relationships in the crypto space that can really be valuable in so many ways if you're planning to have a long-term career or a long-term goal within the crypto and blockchain space. And so I got into that, and then about a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit more, I was introduced to the project I'm Chief Operating Officer of now, which is LayerOneX. And in that first introduction, I was just blown away by what the founder Kevin Cotino wanted to achieve, or what he had already achieved, and where the big vision was going to take LayerOneX. And so I was in, and then I worked for LayerOneX I was so passionate about the project. I worked for free for a few months, and then I think they came to the realization, like, it was either one of two things: he's going to be too hard to get rid of, or he's actually valuable, so we better start paying him. I haven't looked back since. It's been a great journey.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, I admire you for that. That's pretty cool, and your dedication, your hard work, and things that you do. Like, not a lot of people want to start getting paid first, but like right now we're in the groundbreaking, so you're kind of gonna have to dig your roots in a little bit and do things that you normally wouldn't do, and have to make some sacrifices and hard choices. Just like, well, do I want to be a part of this, and I know it's going to be big, but right now it's really hard, but I don't care. It's going to be worth it in the long run. And then you end up messing some relations up in the family and the household. Things could get tense. So yeah, it's a lot of work, and especially having partners understand what you're doing and your concerns. So yeah, man, good job.
I get that as well. Like, full-time crypto is more full-time than the average full-time job, right? So if you're full-time crypto, you're almost 24/7, right? There are no weekends. There are no starting and finishing hours because of the time zones around all over the world that you really have to work in, because everyone's spread across the globe. So I definitely hear that part as well. It's a sacrifice, and I think at the beginning, if there's people that are interested in doing it, experience is so valuable in this industry, You know, so if you have an opportunity to work with a project, whether it's free or whether it's paid, just know that that experience, especially if it's a quality project, can go such a long way if you're wanting to make an impact in the industry for a long period of time.
Yes, yes, sir. And you're going to go down in the history books for sure. No doubt about that. Everybody will know. They'll be like, "Wait, that's pretty." Matt started that. Matthew started that. Like he was there in the beginning, like a true pioneer. And
Yeah, well, yeah, who knows about that part, but definitely it won't be through lack of effort. That's right.
there you go. So, dude, what was exciting to me? I just found this news out like a day ago. Is that, and it gave validation towards cryptocurrency blockchain technology. Is that Warren Buffett is finally into it and giving out Bitcoin, and that was just like he was a big
Yeah,
naysayer about it. He wasn't for it at first, and now that he's seeing like it grow, he's just like, all right, now it's time to take things seriously. So I just took appreciation of the work that came along with it, and not listening to one of my favorite entrepreneurs and financial advisors on going to the internet. But yeah, let's talk more about your projects and what you're going to be doing. So can you explain the concept of interoperability in blockchain space for our readers who might be new into it?
yeah, 100%. Yeah, interoperability basically means in blockchain, it means the ability for one blockchain to talk to another blockchain. And so you kind of it's almost like to put it very simply, it's almost like my computer being able to talk to your computer and via different messaging services or and currently in blockchain that's a major problem because a lot of blockchains can't talk to each other. And so there have been solutions in the past, there are solutions currently being worked on now to kind of solve this problem, to allow these blockchains to kind of come off their island, if you will, and join the mainland, so they can all kind of talk to each other and communicate. And so interoperability means the connectivity between two or more blockchains where communication runs freely.
Okay. Okay. Now, why is interoperability crucial for the future of evaluation of blockchain technology and the Borders crypto ecosystem?
That's a great question, because if I can delve deeper into a little bit about the importance of interoperability, is blockchains, and I might use a bit of an example here. Blockchains can be viewed in a very similar way we view economies. So a blockchain has its own currency. It's got its own consumers, which are the users. It's got its own businesses providing goods and services, which are the applications built on the blockchain. And it's got its own infrastructure, right, which are the nodes and the miners, all the miners. Now, if we looked at the blockchain landscape today, and we looked at them as economies, we would see that they are pretty much a group of closed economies, meaning that if you're in that economy, you pretty much are limited. Your access is limited to resources that are just within that single economy. Meaning that if I'm on Ethereum, my access is limited to the resources on Ethereum, the applications, the currency, the capital, the resources on that one chain, because that chain can't talk properly to other chains. And that's the case with so many chains where they don't have this kind of compatibility and this communication standard. So the importance of, if you can imagine, and let me give you maybe another real world example, is imagine if you went onto Amazon and you could only buy products online that were produced in your country, in the country you were in. That would be a similar scenario now. You are limited to the resources that of where you are. Now, what we want to do is we want to open these blockchains up. We want to create a situation where a user can access resources on any blockchain, not just the one blockchain that they're on. From wherever they are, they can access multiple different resources, applications, solutions across multiple different blockchains. But also the flip side of that applications built on a blockchain can also access users and capital across multiple different blockchains. So what we want to do is we want to take this landscape of closed economies and turn it into an open economy, where by connecting these blockchains up, it's like this user has access to multiple solutions on multiple blockchains as if they were on one chain. And I think ultimately it kind of makes sense. That's where we should head. When if you put yourself in the kind of shoes of a project, they're having to choose: do I choose cheap and fast, or do I choose where the capital and the users are? Do I choose AVAX or do I choose Ethereum? And now I actually have to sacrifice something by choosing one of those options. Where the situation should be, I want to build on the blockchain and have access to everyone and everything, whether you're a user or an application. That's where we kind of see the future heading. And that's the importance of interoperability, by connecting all these economies up and allowing resources to flow in between them.
So it sounds to me like it's like a cross chain a little bit.
100%. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's connecting blockchains, so there is a cross-chain, I suppose, solution where they can communicate with each other and exchange value. Yeah.
Great. Now, what's the primary challenges and barriers in achieving seamless interoperability between different blockchains?
Yeah, another really good question. So the current state of play, if we look at solutions within the blockchain industry that try to solve this interoperability problem, the major form of I suppose of solution that users use are bridges. And bridges are where you hand over your assets to a bridge, and this bridge connects one chain to another. You hand your assets over to the bridge, and then you get assets in return on the other side. So let's say I want to send from Binance to AVAX. I give my assets to the bridge to send across for me, and then on the other side, they give me these assets on the other side. Now, the risk with that is straight away you're handing over your assets. There is a centralized entity that you must trust, that not only trust the handlers or who has control, the authorities of that entity, but also you have to trust that the security measures and everything's in place as well, because that's all governed by the centralized entity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we've seen, it's a massive point of exploit within blockchain. There's about $6.5 billion has been hacked in blockchain to date, and 2.6 billion of that is just purely from bridge hacks. And so that's an issue, right? Now, if we can take that risk out of the market, because the market is hungry for cross-chain interaction, and it's not just a claim. The statistics show just in August alone, almost $8.4 billion of bridge volume occurred cross-chain in August. So you extrapolate that out over a year, that's $100 billion worth of bridge volume in a bearish market. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the challenges, is bridges. The other one is, then we've seen solutions come into the market where in many ways, they're much better than bridges in terms of connectivity, in terms of interoperability, in terms of security, which are solutions like Polkadot and Cosmos. Now, they go a long way into providing a better solution to bridges. However, there are still limitations there. So within the Polkadot ecosystem, you have to really be a parachain to one of their parachains to have this true interoperability between other parachains. With Cosmos, you have to enable IBC, so they program IBC to be able to interact with other blockchains that have enabled IBC. Now, that's great if you're a parachain or if you've got IBC enabled. However, you're still limited to the blockchains that are willing to do that are willing to become a parachain or are willing to learn and implement IBC into their own chain. I like to use this metaphor. Let's say you, me, and a dozen other people are all in the same room, and we all speak a different language. None of us speak the same language, and there's no translator in the room. It's very hard for us to communicate and understand each other within that room, and that's a landscape that we find ourselves at the moment with blockchain. What Polkadot and Cosmos solution, because these chains have to enable something or be part of something, it's almost like they're saying, okay, let's everyone in the room learn Chinese, then we can speak to each other, right? Or everyone in the room learn English, then we can speak to each other. The issue with that is that not everyone's going to do that. and not everyone has the resources, the time, or the willingness to adopt this new language and this new standard. So what we do is, from this evolution of bridges to like Polkadot and Cosmos to our solution, is that our solution built right into the layer one, because we're a layer one blockchain, but built into the layer one is a cross-chain technology called crosstalk. Now, crosstalk is like having that room of me, you, and these 12 other people all speaking a different language, and putting into that room a universal translator. So now you can still talk Italian, I can still talk Korean, but this universal translator will translate those messages between you and I, and you, me, and everyone else in the room, so it's understood by who's receiving it. And that's the evolution, and that's the challenge that we overcome, is that now that blockchains don't have to change themselves, we can connect. And crosstalk connects to anything: EVM, non-EVM, private, public, hybrid, any chain. And our goal is to connect to every chain, so we have this kind of this whole ecosystem of blockchain that acts as one.
Wow. Yeah, when you said like how with the languages and how it goes, it just reminded me of like the UN when they're at the big meeting and they all have their earpieces and they're listening.
Yes.
The leaders of the countries come, and so they're able to understand. So that's pretty cool.
And imagine if they didn't have that. Imagine the situation if that didn't exist. Then that's the situation we find ourselves right now on blockchain. And so I think that's a great example.
Thank you. How do existing solutions in the market address these challenges, and where do they fall short?
Yeah, so it's probably an extension of what I talked about before. Now, I might extend that out to even more, more recent examples of blockchain, of interoperability solutions. So I talked about the bridges. We know they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable to hacks. You have to hand over custody of your assets in this transaction. Then we've talked about Polkadot and Cosmos, which in many ways go beyond bridges and offer a much better solution. However, connectivity, implementation, all these things do limit its potential, right? Now, when you look at other solutions such as Layer 0, XLR, even Chainlink CCIP that's coming out. Now, when you look at those solutions, they still have their own limitations. Now, if I can give you an example, so recently we did tests, cross-chain tests with XLR and Layer 0. Now, Layer 0, they're basically Layer 0 is an infrastructure for bridges. Their most popular bridge is Stargate Finance. Stargate Finance take up about 30% of the bridge volume market. They've got a big chunk of it. Now, when we did our test between Stargate, XLR, and LayerOneX or the crosstalk solution, we found that we were a third of the cost of those solutions, and we were up to 15 times faster than those solutions. And here's the reason why. When we built LayerOneX, we built the virtual machine, which basically is the machine that interacts with all the smart contracts within the blockchain. We built that from the ground up, from scratch. Now, many blockchains will kind of copy the Ethereum blockchain, so they're EVM compatible, Ethereum virtual machine compatible. But we built ours from scratch, but at the same time, we still made it EVM compatible. But when we built it from scratch, we made it so that most of the work on the cross-chain interaction or cross-chain transaction is done with our VM. Now, when you look at Layer 0 and XLR, because they have to rely on the source chain and the destination chain, so the chain you're sending from and the chain you're sending to, then they have to interact with about 4 smart contracts, both sides, right? The source and the destination. Because most of the work is done by our virtual machine, we only have to interact with 1 smart contract. Now, every time you do a function call from a smart contract or you interact with a smart contract, it ups the gas or the transaction fee. And it takes longer because you're having to interact with multiple smart contracts. So just that infrastructure change, where we don't rely on these source and destination chains, multiple smart contract interactions, we bring it in-house as if to say, because it's all in our virtual machine that does the work. Just that, we've seen massive cost savings and a huge increase in speed. Now, why should you care? I suppose cost savings, that's pretty obvious. You save money. Speed, a few different things. If anyone's sent across a bridge and has waited any longer than 30 minutes, it's pretty, you get pretty anxious, right? Sometimes you've had to wait a day, right, for this money to turn up. Is it coming? Now, on top of that, the longer it takes for a transaction to go from source to destination, the bigger the window for exploit is. So the longer it takes to go from the source wallet, let's say your wallet, to the destination wallet, let's say that's your wallet as well, in between that period, the longer that period is, the bigger the exploit window. So if we can close that period up and make it as short as possible, then it also reduces the risk as well within that transaction. And so to give you an example of timings, our last test, it took Stargate Finance 5 minutes minimum to do this transaction. It took us 19 seconds.
Yeah, I remember the early days. Well, back in 2017, I was trying to buy some Bitcoin or buy other crypto assets, and it just take hours. I was just like, man, I just want the money to go through. Like, is it gonna go? And it's just like, we live in a day and age where people want everything instant. You know what I mean? It's just like there's no time to be patient. It's just, I want it now and I want to see it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And I think, if we want to show, decentralized finance in a light that is more efficient, effective than traditional finance, then we've got to have these progressions in innovation where the speed of transaction is quicker. Because at the moment, if I want to send from my bank account to your bank account, especially overseas, that's going to take some time and it's going to be hugely expensive. However, we can reduce that cost right down, and we can reduce that speed all the way down to seconds. Then that's just another quiver in the bow of decentralized finance over traditional finance.
for sure, and it's going to get a lot more people interested into these kind of finances and this kind of network and industry.
I meant to say arrow in the quiver, not quiver in the bow, but yeah, I digress.
It's all right. It's all right. I appreciate how you're very detailed, because nerds like me want to know every aspect of this and want to get the best out of this education and be able to explain it to my friends, even though sometimes it just goes over the head. I'm just like, well, I don't know what else to do to help you, man.
Yeah, I hear you, but I appreciate your curiosity, because it is really important. Because the education is it's a massive piece of, it will play a major role within crypto adoption, right? And so if we can all just take the time to learn more. I mean, it's been a massive learning journey for me, even in the last year. And you would know this, crypto kid. I mean, you're always learning, right? It's such an evolving space, and you're always learning, and the more you learn, the more you can educate others. I think that compound that education across the network of people. I think that's really important. So I agree with you.
Every time I turn my head, I see something else new coming on. I'm just like, what the heck? I just just went over this. Something else, like, you just shake my head. But going back to Layer 1, how does LayerOneX Xtalks, like in other words, crosstalk technology, aim to redefine interruptibility in blockchain space?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's a great question, and if I can kind of give you a backstory on the answer to this, is when we started with LayerOneX, and really why LayerOneX has managed to achieve so many things that others haven't been able to achieve. I think one of the key components is, over 2 years ago, when our founder Kevin Coteno started, he and a very experienced blockchain team from a partner of ours, the University of Western Australia, and one of the top universities in Australia, a very good blockchain department, and actually their senior research fellow is a head of blockchain research still, and we still work very closely with them. But right back in the beginning, Kevin, our founder, and the team from University of Western Australia, they spent at least 6 months just trying to understand what the problem was we were trying to solve, to really get into the nitty-gritty, of understanding what is this problem, what are the all the kind of ins and outs of this problem, before they started building. and before they started to kind of become these architects of this layer one that we've got. But so it started with the tech, and we were on a journey where it was all about this kind of connectivity between chains and this interoperability, and it was very much tech. And then we had this realization, probably a few months ago now, where actually we weren't just solving the interoperability problem. We were actually solving a problem that was much bigger, and that problem is actually the user experience problem within crypto and blockchain. And you'd be able to attest to this, and many of your listeners as well, is that currently the user experience within crypto, I'm trying to think of another word, but let's just call it what it is. It's pretty shit, right? You know, it has so much room for a much more intuitive experience, an easier, less complex experience, less steps. Because right at the moment, it is highly complex, right? And the learning curve is so steep that if we ever expect a mass adoption of crypto and blockchain, we have to do so much better around the user experience, my opinion. So with the crosstalk technology, we moved from, okay, it's all about this crosstalk technology, and it still is, but we move to how are we going to redefine the user experience? And because we believe we have the tech to be able to do that and deliver on it. And so, for example, what we did is we decided to work on, which we've now had a soft launch of, and we're in a feedback phase, but it's of what we're calling the LayerOneX app. Now, this app will actually evolve to be your single portal into crypto and blockchain. Now, you might say, well, how is that going to happen? So if I take a step back and talk about the crosstalk technology, that technology allows LayerOneX to connect to any chain. EVM, so Ethereum virtual machine compatible, non-Ethereum virtual machine compatible, hybrid, public, any chain. We're currently connected to Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, AVAX, Arbitrum, Phantom, Solana, and Phantom.
All the major ones.
Yeah, 80% of all TVL and the majority of users across those chains. And then early 2024, we'll be connecting to the Bitcoin network. And we'll continue to connect to chains, so that we won't stop there because we can connect to any. And really, we don't have to have permission, because the chain itself doesn't need to adapt. We can just pick a chain and add them to the kind of the roster of blockchains that Crosstalk can connect to, and connect it up. And so we find ourselves in a position where we have access to all these layer ones, right, and solutions and resources on each of these layer one blockchains, or layer two, some of them. Now, because when a chain connects to us, or when we connect to a chain, that chain now can exchange assets, so tokens, NFTs, and logic across chain, between EVM, non-EVM, whatever chain we're connected to. Now those chains are in the room where we have a universal translator, and everyone can understand each other. And so what that means for us is that if by creating an interface, this LayerOneX app, it means that interface is not just access to LayerOneX applications, solutions, capital, users. That interface now is access to LayerOneX, Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Arbitrum, Optimism, Polygon, AVAX, Phantom, and Solana, and in early 2024, Bitcoin, and every other chain we continue to add. And so let me kind of give you an example of what that means. So it means that I can do a cross-chain swap from native BNB to native Solana. Now, if I was to do that now, if I wanted to swap native BNB to native Solana, I would more than likely have to take that BNB, send it to a centralized exchange, swap it for Sol, and then send that Solana back onto the Solana network, right, through a different wallet, because it's, I think, predominantly Phantom wallet is the Solana wallet, and I'm coming from a MetaMask wallet, which is probably the wallet I'm going to use on BNB. Now, that's a lot of steps. It's expensive and it's risky, because you're dealing with multiple parties there. What this LayerOneX app allows you to do is just do it all in one interface with one click. Select BNB, select Solana. I want to swap that now. Done. 19 seconds, very cheap. And so that's only one example. But if we kind of look at it like, okay, all these users of crypto and blockchain really have these simple actions. They want to buy, they want to sell, they want to lend, they want to borrow, they want to, they want to send, they want to do these simple actions. They don't care what blockchain they're on. They really don't. Ultimately, they just have a need and they want the best solution provided to them. No matter what blockchain that's on, they just want the best solution put forward to them. And we believe that to be true. We believe that to be the future, where the user won't even care, doesn't even need to know what blockchain they're interacting with. They just need to be able to be presented from all solutions from all blockchains and make a choice of which one suits their needs the best. And so that's where the LayerOneX will come in. It will extend to things like play, which is another action, listen to music, which is another action. So let's say I want to play a game, RPG game, select RPG, all the options from RPG games across every blockchain pops up. I want to select music. I don't care what Web3 streaming solution I will need to access. I have a song I want to listen to. I've got a genre. And so it'll bring up those options. So it's early stages now with the app, but it has the swap and send feature in there within the app, and will continue to evolve out with all these different options, accessing different blockchains. So really, if you want to interact with blockchain and crypto, the LayerOneX app interface will take you everywhere. And that's our ultimate goal and our vision moving as we move through our roadmap and work and evolve the LayerOneX app, which is pretty exciting, I feel, for the user experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And dude, also blockchain technology, cryptocurrency is just one little bitty piece into the space. You have your others, like you were talking about, like with music, what is it, NFTs,
Gaming, yeah,
gaming, absolutely, the metaverse, all of that. There's just like a whole wide world of things that we don't even know yet and that are still coming out. That's why so many things are people are finding out as people do research. They're like, hey, well, I wonder if I could use blockchain and apply to this, and it works. It's just like, yes, this is something that's definitely revolutionizing the world.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree, because we've got a project called HealthLink, which are building on us, where it's allowing patient data to be secured and will evolve to where the patient can own their data or their data, approve access, revoke access. Data will be able to be transferred between medical practitioners a lot easier. It will be a lot safer, a lot more accurate. Because when, like, for example, let's take, and this is probably a good example outside of the norm, right, in terms of how blockchain can improve people's lives. So, and I don't know if this is the experience where you are, but if I go to a specialist over here, I've got to turn up 15 minutes earlier and I've got to fill out a form. And that form will go through different, my own health condition and all these different things. And then I fill that form out. I'm assuming I give that form to someone, and then they manually input that information, and that information is stored on their database. Now, still today, some medical practitioners transfer information via fax. I mean, that is archaic, right? That is old school. So imagine a situation where your medical data was protected, it was encrypted, and then let's say you went to that specialist, you didn't have to turn up 15 minutes earlier because you allowed access for that specialist to see your medical data. Now, parts, not all of it, you can revoke and approve certain parts for access. And so the specialist is looking at an immutable record, right? So the blockchain, once a block is created, that block, the data on that block is immutable, unchangeable. And so now, then that immutable record has now been passed on to the next, say the specialist, for their records, or they can access those records that they need to. So you don't have to fill out the form, you don't have to be 15 minutes late, you don't have to rely on the error of manual input, right, from having to do that. And so, look, it saves time. It's much more secure in terms of the patient data, and it'll probably save a lot of money for medical entities in terms of getting data wrong. Right? Imagine someone manually inputting data into a computer and they forgot to put that you had an allergy to a specific medicine.
Which
Where
happens. It does happen.
Exactly, right. And so, but if you could have a way to verify the accuracy of data and have that data be immutable and then transferable on the patient's authority, then that's one example of where an out-of-the-box area that people don't talk about a lot, but it could have a positive impact on people's lives by using blockchain. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. And I did do an interview with the founder of Solvecare, and that's what he works on, is bringing
Brilliant.
healthcare and blockchain together. And then there's also another one, Earth ID, using blockchain to identify yourself also.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep. Perfect. And that's where I think LayerOneX comes into play, because we get asked a lot, why another layer one? There's so many different layer ones. Why do we need another one? We don't really need another layer one, but we do need a solution, a layer one solution that connects all other blockchains. That's really what we're offering to the market. And we're not here to compete. We're here to unify, because through our technology, we wish to unify these blockchains into a situation or an environment where the user can feel like they're on one chain, but access multiple chains and multiple resources across these chains. So we're talking to multiple different chains on about connection, the benefits of connection, when we can connect, how can we educate their builders so their applications can now access multiple resources outside of their own chain. So all of these different things, we really are here to, you mentioned those chains that have specific use cases. Then if we can connect to that chain, which we can, but let's say we connected to that chain and now users across multiple chains have access to that solution. So that's really what we're trying to bring. We welcome these innovations. We welcome other layer ones, other layer twos, and we want to collaborate because we want to try and connect all these kind of economies together.
Teamwork makes the dream work, baby.
Exactly.
It's just always better when people work together and networking and picking each other's brains and trying to figure out how can we make this work, how we could apply to make the world a better place.
Yep.
Can you give a real world example or case use where Xtalk can bridge gaps that other solutions can't?
Yeah. So I did mention one prior, and that was the fact that Crosstalk can now achieve native swaps between, let's say you want to swap BNB with Solana, but also, like, on top of that, we take away the risk for bridges. The user keeps custody of their assets throughout the transaction. I mentioned the cost saving and the speed enhancement compared to Layer 0 and Axelar that we can provide. But let me go beyond and maybe talk through a couple of different use cases that could be utilized by applications on LayerOneX. Let's talk about the gaming arena. So we're currently talking, we've got a few different gaming partners that are building on us over these coming months. And
can you share the gaming partners?
Yeah, so the one I'm going to speak about specifically is Digger Labs.
Okay.
So Digger Labs, they have a game called Elderune, but they're building these other games, and they're working very closely with our labs department, because when a project comes on of a certain quality, we want to ensure that project makes the most out of leveraging this technology. So it's not like they're building on a single blockchain. They're building on a single blockchain that accesses multiple different blockchains. So we want to make sure that they know and they have every opportunity to leverage that. And so what they're looking at and one thing that really pleasantly surprised them is that they can mint NFTs on any chain, and those NFTs can be compatible to the chain where the game is on. So let me give you an example. Let's say they want to reward someone with an NFT on Binance Smart Chain, but the game is on Polygon. And so, and any other chain we're connected to, let's say they want to mint these NFTs everywhere. So it will allow them to mint an NFT on Binance Smart Chain and have that holder hold that NFT on Binance Smart Chain. Now, when that holder wants to access the Polygon, the game on Polygon, they can also do that. When they go into the game on Polygon, what we allow is not just the transfer of assets, but I mentioned this briefly before. We also allow the communication of smart contracts cross-chain. And really what we're going for is ultimately we're going for a world where every smart contract can talk to every other smart contract. So there's kind of linking of smart contracts across all blockchains. Now, because these smart contracts can talk to each other, when the user goes into the Polygon game, the smart contract will send a verification back to the Binance Smart Chain to ensure, yes, they hold this NFT, and then allow them to unlock that in the game. Without them having to move that NFT off the Binance chain, it can keep it there and still give that gamer access into all these other games that are willing to verify that particular NFT. You could now mint multiple NFTs on multiple different chains, and all of those NFTs can be used on one game on one chain. So I think, this, and to extend off that, you could, a project could build an application, and we kind of showed this a few months ago, where you could build an app, like, let's imagine an NFT marketplace that existed on LayerOneX. Imagine you could put the NFT onto that marketplace for sale, and automatically that NFT would then be placed for sale on OpenSea, Magic Eden, Blur.io, in fact, any other marketplace on any chain we're connected to. A application could build this kind of multi-chain NFT marketplace, because what happens is once the NFT goes and is placed in the LayerOneX marketplace, smart contract logic starts talking to these other marketplaces and makes duplicates of these NFTs and then puts them for sale on these other marketplaces. Now, if the NFT is sold on a marketplace on another chain, the smart contract logic talks to each other, removes the irrelevant NFTs, and then hands over ownership to the new purchaser. So now, what that would do for the NFT marketplace, it now gives NFTs access to capital and users across any chain we're connected to. So the liquidity that the NFTs can have access to is massive. And the options and the exposure for that NFT to be sold somewhere is also huge. Beyond that, if we're looking at DeFi, another use case that an application could build on LayerOneX is a lending aggregator. So imagine if you've got USDC and you want to put that to work, you want to lend it out. An application could be built on LayerOneX where you could then, let's say you've got $1,000 of USDC. You put that into the application, and then you could actually select for this application to go ahead and search multiple chains for the best lending APY for this USDC. So you could actually go in and say, okay, go ahead and search that. The smart contracts would go ahead and then listen to the lending protocols, find the best APY, and deploy that USDC onto the best option for you. Now, it doesn't stop there. While it's deployed there, the smart contracts can still listen to every other lending protocol on every other chain we're connected to. Now, if the APY goes up on that other lending protocol, it could redeploy that USDC to the better opportunity without the user having to do anything. A much more simplified user experience, much more capital efficient user experience. And these are just some of probably a couple of thousands of examples of applications that you could build on LayerOneX and leverage multiple different blockchains.
Wow, thanks. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for bringing up DeFi. I didn't mean to interrupt you earlier. Some people just hold back on like certain partnerships that they're waiting to hold, let the public know. So I wasn't trying to be rude.
Yeah, no. Please jump in. Like, if I can share the share information, if I can share alpha, absolutely. Towards the in the next couple of weeks as well, we'll also have our DEX will be launching, right? So this is a multi-chain DEX which connects up to other DEXs as well. They're looking at partnerships now. But what does multi-chain DEX? What does DEX? It's called L1DEX. The guys are building it as we speak now. What this will allow, initially, one of its first offerings will be a multi-chain balancer pool. So if you can imagine, you've got a balancer pool with Ethereum, BNB, ARB, OP, Matic, AVAX, Phantom, and Sol. In this kind of balancer pool, all wrapped up, these blue chip assets, all wrapped up in this balancer pool, and there's probably maybe an 8% weightage of USDC, USDT. Now, because that liquidity pool will serve the cross-chain swaps, so the L1DEX projection is that you could be part of this balancer pool and basically spread your risk across all these blue chips, but still potentially earn anywhere from say 40 to 60% APR on that. That's insane when you look at the almost the conservativeness of the balancer pool, because it's spread across multiple blue chips, but to provide that APR, I think is extraordinary, right? Now, not only that, is that because of our smart contract logic that can talk to each other cross-chain, a project can also actually, we talked to a project a month ago where they had $3 million of liquidity across 3 different chains. They had 1 million on each chain. Now, when you've got deep liquidity, it means less price impact. So ideally, what you want to do is take that 3 million and consolidate it into one pool, right? Rather than have it fragmented. So what LayerOneX actually allows this project to do, and has allowed this project to do, is take that 3 million, pull it into the 3 times 1 million, put it into 3 million single liquidity pool, and put it on LayerOneX. And now that liquidity serves not only LayerOneX, but every other chain we're connected to. So it now serves 8 chains and not 3 that they were connected to. So that's a massive win for projects that want to deepen their liquidity and stop fragmenting and have access to more chains. Rather than just 3 or 4, they can now put the liquidity, consolidate it on LayerOneX, and now that liquidity can serve all these other chains as well.
Yeah, that's eye-opening. That is most definitely eye-opening. And going back to DeFi, how does interoperability play a role in rapidly growing DeFi, which also means decentralized finance space?
Yes, yeah. So now what LayerOneX allows is, and I think the best way to put this is that where we're going to evolve this to is that what was seen as, for example, right now, 9 chains, LayerOneX and the 8 chains we're connected to, what was seen as 9 chains can now be seen as 1, because you can do everything across these chains that you can do on 1 chain. And so, that's where we want to take this. So what it means for DeFi, it means now I can borrow on AVAX and lend on Solana. I can, I can do native swaps between Ethereum and Phantom. It means that I can provide lending aggregators like that example I told you, where you can go ahead and find the best solution for lending out a stablecoin. It means also within the DeFi space that our ability to go cross-chain is cheaper and faster than anything else, and you keep custody. So there's a cheaper, faster, safer alternative for cross-chain interaction with DeFi. But now, as well, it also means that you can create DeFi strategies cross-chain, meaning these smart contracts that can talk to each other across chain can now link up all these DeFi applications together, where you can create a strategy where if I stake here, I take these rewards, I then go ahead and then stake them cross-chain in this other protocol. I then take those rewards and I put them onto this. You can now create these strategies where you're using multiple applications, multiple smart contracts across chain now, because now these chains can talk to each other. What I'm excited about in the DeFi space is everything we haven't even thought of yet, because we're a limited team, right? We're a fairly large team, but there's only we don't want to limit the innovation to the minds that are on LayerOneX. We want to open this up, and we've already seen this through the projects that we're talking to. We can't wait till we bring more and more minds onto this protocol and see what they can build and what ideas they come up with and what collaborations come from that. I think it's pretty exciting. But for the DeFi space, it's probably one of the spaces that will create the most impact. And a little thing as well that might be of interest to a lot of your users, and listeners, is that from the end of January next year onwards, sometime after that point, we'll be introducing the ability for a universal gas token. So what that means is currently, if I'm on Ethereum, I've got to have ETH to transact. If I'm on BNB, I've got to have BNB to transact. If I'm on Solana, I've got to have Sol to transact. If I'm on Phantom, I've got to have FTM. I've got to have all these native currencies to transact in these economies. When I go to Europe, I've got to have the euro. When I go to the US, I've got to have the US dollar. Those sort of things. What we're able to do and what we want to build out early next year is the ability for you to have the L1X coin and be able to use that as the universal currency across any chain we're connected to. So now all you have to do is have L1X, and you can transact you can use that as gas fee on Ethereum, Binance, Phantom, Arbitrum, Optimism, Solana, Polygon, AVAX, and every other chain we're going to connect to. You'll be only have to have that one coin, which is much better user experience. It actually works out to be much cheaper and much more efficient for the user, because they don't have to keep all these currencies across these multiple chains. They just have to have one.
Oh wow, that's a game changer right there, my friend. Game changer.
Yeah.
That's gonna pique a lot of people. That's gonna make things a lot easier for people, in my opinion. So, how does LayerOneX envision itself felicitating smoother and more effective operations in DeFi realm?
Yeah, and I probably expanded out even more to DeFi is a massive winner with this technology, and especially the evolution of the app. But it's even beyond DeFi. It's gaming. It's any solution we can connect to. Basically, it's music. It's everything that's on a blockchain. Eventually, we will be able to present that in one interface, and that's how I think we're changing it up. Is we're moving from a place where we've got these very siloed tribal economies, where we've got these ETH maxis, we've got these Bitcoin maxis, we've got BNB maxis, we've got this tribalism across silo chains, and and it kind of works, right? It's kind of if you're a silo chain and you're aiming to be the only chain that exists, then you need tribalism. You need that to be there. But now I think a large portion of people have really kind of accepted the fact that we will be living in a multi-chain world where there are multiple different chains that exist, and they need to talk to each other, because there is no one chain that can be everything to everybody, right? However, there is a chain that can connect everything for everybody, and that's LayerOneX. And so ultimately what we want to do is we want to get to that point, and we've started now with the LayerOneX app and the 8 chains we're connected to, and we'll continue to evolve over these weeks, months, and years, is where we will have an experience where you don't care what blockchain, it doesn't matter. You just want the solution. Here is the interface that will provide you with solution. You'll be able to provide parameters, so it's not just, okay, I want to buy something. What do you want to buy? How much do you want to buy? When do you want to buy it? Who do you want to buy it from? And so we can build all these filters so you can really customize that experience for yourself. And then we can provide the solution in front of you after you've customized those parameters and those filters of what you want. And really, that's where we're heading. We want to provide from one spot access to everything for users and applications.
One step at a time, man. One step at a time.
Exactly. It's a journey, right? It's a journey. What gives us confidence is we have the tech, and we've now got the soft launch of the app. So we've got if you can imagine, we have the interface and we have the tech that's invisible, that will eventually be invisible beneath it, that will be basically servicing all the solutions and a lot of the user experience through the interface. So we feel we have the foundation to build from. So now it's just a case of really talking to our community, talking to our users, and evolving that user experience so it fits what's needed out there.
And it will. Eventually people will catch on, just be like, all right, I should have gotten this a long time ago. And then guys like me was like, see, I told you. I sorry I couldn't make it make sense, but I just knew it was great. So you should have got it. But as more and more blockchains emerge with unique features and capabilities, how do you see the landscape of interoperability blockchains evolving?
Yeah. And I think it's a really good question to ask, because it kind of goes to our ethos of we are not here to compete, we're here to unite. And so we really do encourage application-specific chains, right? So if there's a chain that really wants to deliver specifically on a niche, go for it. We want to connect to you, because we want to give users opportunity to access the best solutions. And so we welcome it. We welcome the innovation, the building of better blockchains in the space, maybe the upgrading of existing blockchains, the continuous evolving of some of the existing blockchains out there. But ultimately, yes, we welcome that, because we want to make sure that when we're connecting to solutions that really suit these users' needs, whether they're a retail user, whether they're a TradFi user, whether they're a an enterprise, a different enterprise user, whether they want to seek supply chain and logistics options, health options, DeFi, gaming, whatever that is, we welcome that because we feel that all of those things can solve problems that currently exist in the space.
Yeah, it's about helping each other, and with new things coming out every day, it's good to get in it somehow. Like my favorite example to say, or my story to say, is that Steve Wozniak, one of the founders of Apple, created the MacBook or the Mac, and then he heard about cryptocurrency and he just thought it was so cool that you could buy things with this digital asset, and he saw real potential. And this is like one of the pioneers of the computers, coming on and saying like, this is it, this is what's gonna come out, and you better get involved before it's too late. And that's just like living proof on anything. It's like when you see like people that left their mark in the universe and just like, that's going to be the next big thing, you got to watch that. So it's amazing. And I don't know where I was going with that.
No, I agree with you though. I think, all these kind of steps, whether it's validation from experts in industries, whether it's investment from Warren Buffett or development from Steve Wozniak and innovation from Steve Wozniak, or it's just the accepting the kind of approval of a Bitcoin ETF. All of these go towards the progression of blockchain and crypto, right? And I think I'm not alone in thinking that we've come too far to go back. It's going to exist. It exists now, and it will continue to exist in some form. And the fact that governments are racing to regulate, I think, shows you that even they've accepted the fact that this will exist. And there are benefits here. Yeah.
And in my opinion, I think the government's a little bit concerned because, there's a lot of good things with blockchain and this technology, but there's some people that do some evil things, just like they can weaponize it and make it destructive. And like, it could sound like a turnoff to a lot of people. Like, well, if it's doing that, I don't want to be a part of it. Kind of like when I first found out about Bitcoin, I was like, well, how does it work? Where do you use it? And one of my college roommates, like, you could use it on the black market. That's how you buy like drugs, weapons, things like that. So that's what turned me off. I was like, well, I don't need that. I don't need to buy any of the things, counterfeit money, nothing. So, and I just didn't want to get in trouble because I didn't want the big brother looking at me like, well, why do you have this? Are you planning on doing something suspicious? Something we should know about? Because someone's always watching. So, but we need to go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and you're right. I mean, and the space is still fraught with risk, right? And people wanting to take your money, unfortunately, right? And it's and I think for LayerOneX, if we can take away the risk from bridges, then we take away 30% of all hacks. So I think that's a really good place to start. If we can simplify the user experience so it's less complex, and we can add and keep security at the front of mind, I think that will go a long way in terms of not only user experience but also security. I think reducing the steps to complete a particular action, I also think goes a long way to helping security around that as well. There's less room for error. But it's almost this balance, right, of I want autonomy over my assets and my data. That's what I want. I want power over my assets and my data as an individual. But as the saying goes, with great power becomes great responsibility. We can give you the power over your assets and your data, but now you have to accept responsibility for the security of the assets and the data and the disbursement of them, the managing of them. And people are willing to grab the first bit, the power. It's the responsibility where, at the moment where you'll hear this say, well, if I mess up in the TradFi world, the bank's probably going to give me my money, or I can at least apply to get that money back. If someone's taken it from me or something like this, but I can't do that in the crypto world to a major extent. And so, if we can, I think the power is key, but there has to be a level of responsibility. If we're going to, the more power you accept, the more responsibility you've got to accept. However, with that being said, if LayerOneX can also educate, reduce the risk, and so with that responsibility that users want, they can start to manage their assets, secure their assets through a much easier solutions for the user experience to do that, plus be educated along the way to do that, then I think that's really important as well, because I don't think, we're at a position where people want the power, but unfortunately the complexity, the education, the risk means that they also have to take the responsibility, which is the critical part at the moment. If we can reduce that, it will make that responsibility easier, provide solutions where they can manage that risk in a much better way, then we will, and we won't be the only ones that will do that, but we will definitely work towards that.
And some people won't be ready for it. There's something you got to kind of build yourself up for. And if you like jump into something like that, then you're just gonna ask for a whole rules. You'll be like, well, I don't know about this. I didn't know that I could get in trouble for this, or I didn't know that I was supposed to tell my CPA or tax advisor that I have digital assets. So, but yeah. Yeah. Here in the United States, Uncle Sam wants his piece of the pie. No doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely. No different here in Australia. Yeah, there's no difference.
But what's the next horizon for LayerOneX in terms of advancing interoperability solutions?
Yeah. So, over these weeks, these months, these years, we'll continue to build out the interface and the connectivity of Crosstalk. We will continue to build, automation wherever we can to simplify the user experience, and we'll continue to build security into the application as well, so it's a faster, cheaper, safer environment and much more simple environment for the user to be in when they're interacting with blockchain and crypto. And we will continue to connect to more and more chains. So ultimately, the vision for us is to be able to provide the user and applications with a blockchain agnostic solution, which gives them and meaning that there's no specific preferred blockchain. Even LayerOneX, the solution may not be on us; it may be somewhere else. Let's provide that to the user. So providing an experience where the user doesn't care what blockchain they're on. They just know they can go into this interface and then be presented with the best solutions possible from any chain and any of the resources on that chain. And we feel that the impact of that really does help to bring on the next billion users around blockchain and crypto.
All right. I like it a lot. I like it. And definitely appreciate you coming out on the show. I know you're a busy guy and doing these long ass fucking videos.
I appreciate your time. Yeah, no, I appreciate, and I know it's important as well. It's sharing what we're doing with listeners, and this is probably a sneak peek. And if people are interested in wanting to learn more, obviously we've got our links, right? L1x.foundation is our website. That'll also take you through to the app if you want to join us in that kind of beta phase for feedback. We've got our Discord, we've got our Twitter at LayerOneX. So please jump in, visit us, learn more about what we're doing. Education is key, and we've got a really good group of community moderators as well that are willing to educate and willing to communicate. And we've got a pretty vibrant Discord channel and Telegram channel, so you definitely won't feel lonely there.
All right. Is there anything you feel like we didn't talk about that you might want to share before we close, or anything that might be coming out?
Yeah, well, yes. So we're currently in a phase. So I'll kind of give you an idea of where we're at. So we've already done our Genesis block. So the 31st of August was our Genesis block. So we're currently in a phase we're calling mainnet beta. Mainnet beta lasts for 5 months, all the way up until the end of January. Within these 5 months, there's a few things that are happening. So firstly, we're getting applications built on us. I talked about the DEX, talked about gaining partnerships. We've got NFTs, we've got DeFi. So more and more projects will come onto the platform during that 5 month period and beyond. But also within that period, we've also building up to the full mainnet at the end of January, where the LayerOneX coin itself becomes tradable. But during mainnet beta, we're also running our public sale. So if people are interested, right, and this is more of this podcast is more about talking about what we're doing at LayerOneX and some of the applications you can get involved in and play around with. Let's say you get in, you learn more about us, you have a look at the applications, and you're interested to actually get a piece of it, then you can also do that as well.
All right. And links to get in contact with Matiu and to get, do you guys have like a Discord or Telegram that I could put on?
Yes, we do. Yeah. I can give you Discord, I can give you Telegram, I can give you the website, I can give you Twitter as well.
Yeah, sign up, and those links will be in the description below. And hey, man, I look forward to having you on the show again. I feel like there's still so much we haven't covered, and I want to see how much you guys progress in 6 months from now, and maybe we might hit each other up at a cryptocurrency event or a blockchain event, and get some coffee or a beer or something.
No, that sounds perfect to me, my friend. Yeah, absolutely, Crypto Kid. I'd love to come back on again and kind of give your audience a little bit of insight into our progression. And yeah, I'm always up for a coffee or a beer, my friend.
There you go. Well, there you have it. This is Crypto Kid Podcast, and Matiu trying to put a few dents in the universe, and make sure you get on board with his team. And if you're an engineer or coder, get in touch with him, and he could use the help.
Absolutely. We're open for all minds. Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome, Matt. Thank you.